a goal really isn't a goal until you have made it an actual thing. You've done actions that support the goal already. You've made at least some plans towards that goal, and you've taken some steps that are going to point you towards that goal. That's when you've actually set a real goal, when it's actually become a thing within your life. With you? Why are you on the counter, bud? No explanation, huh? Bad boys.
Kilometers in. No idea. 17 maybe?
You got it, babe. I'll meet you at the finish line.
Let's hear from Britton Turner from Boundary Creek, New Brunswick, finishing a half marathon. Dakota Smith as well, Noah veterans.
That's a wrap. That is the half marathon. That is fully complete. I loved every second of the training. I loved every second of today and how it went. I think it was very, very interesting. I actually didn't realize how many people sign up for these runs. I always knew there was a lot, because I see them do it every year, and I see just a crowd of people going down the street. There was, I think, on the finishing list, on the list of people that finished, there was 803 people in just the half marathon, and I'm already excited to do my next half marathon. But the actual results that got posted online was 1 hour, 49 minutes, and 22 seconds. And I'm very pleased with that, because a few weeks ago, I did a 20-kilometer run that was in my training program, and I completed that in 1 hour and 47 minutes with a 5-minute, 22-second pace. So my pace on this race, according to the tracker, it was 5 minutes and 11 seconds, which is pretty awesome. Like, that's still a personal record, that time. But while the race was going on, there's a turnaround point at kilometer 14. And when we got there, a bunch of us who were at the, whoever was the first, I would say the first 150 people probably, the turnaround pylon was not yet there, but there was a further ahead turnaround point for the full marathon runners. So because the half marathon turnaround point was not there, a lot of us ran, I think it was 2, maybe 3 kilometers extra out to the full marathon turnaround spot. And when we started coming back after we had turned around, then the turnaround pylon had been placed out on the trail for the half marathon. So we saw a lot of these half marathoners turning around, and ahead of us already coming back. So technically, and the guy that was beside me had said at the 16-kilometer mark on the trail that we had already reached the 21-kilometer mark. So it might have been 4 kilometers out, whatever. But so my time technically is somewhere between 22 and 24 kilometers at 1 hour and 49 minutes and 22 seconds. But I'm going to take that time because that's all I have to record, because funny enough, I only took my phone with me. I didn't wear my watch. I haven't been wearing my Apple Watch. I think I've mentioned that before on my channel. But yeah, I put my Nike app on, put it in my pouch, and it stopped tracking after 5 kilometers. So I didn't get anything tracked, or else I would actually have solid evidence of what I really ran. And that made me put on my Apple Watch today. When I got back, I showered up and I was like, I'm putting my Apple Watch back on and I'm wearing it like I used to do in the old days. I used to be so religious with my Apple Watch in terms of following the calories, reaching all of my goals on my, like completing my rings. And I would sleep with it on, track my sleep. The only time I would take it off is to shower or to charge. Even though it is waterproof, I still feel weird about it. But yeah, so I'm gonna wear that again. But anyway, that just makes me more excited to like do it again. So my plan is to do another half marathon. I think there's one here again in September, and I think there's also another one in October. So I can choose. I'll probably do the one that's sooner. But essentially, I have something that I want to share with you guys today that was on my mind. You know, I just did some errands for the day. It's Mother's Day, so I took my mom out to dinner and spent a good chunk of the day doing that. But I just went out for a walk. I went out for a walk for like 50 minutes, and I just played some like, I always go on Spotify and type in prayer music. I always find that that's super like calming. And I wrote down kind of what comes to my mind, and, you know, I felt like sometimes I was making a little bit of a bigger deal about the half marathon than it actually was. Now, I've never ran one before. That was the farthest I ever ran. So it's still a great achievement. But there were times where I was like, maybe I'm making a big deal about this. Maybe I don't need to, you know, train as diligently as I was. Maybe I don't really need to care about, you know, the days leading up to the actual marathon as much as I did, you know, or whatever. You know, I was making a big deal about it. Obviously, I vlogged it and shared it with you guys too, which I'm sure a lot of people don't. Because, you know, when I got there and seen so many people running, I was like, you know, I don't think anybody here is vlogging their training or whatever, but it's whatever, right? But then tonight it came to my mind and I said, in order to be great at something, I think you need to actually make it a thing. And in my head, I kept thinking, make it a thing. If you're going to do something, make it a thing and make it your thing. And here's what I wrote. Initial thought back in February. I want to take my running more seriously this upcoming summer. I enjoyed how it made me feel last summer when I was running more frequently. So essentially, this past February, I was thinking about the upcoming summer. And last summer, I ran a lot of 5 and 10Ks on my own, you know, every single week. But they were always sporadic. It was never planned. It was just, oh, it's sunny, I'm going to go run. And I would just run for as long as I could. I was like, this summer, I really want to make it more, I want to take it more seriously. You know, I want to challenge myself a little bit with the running, you know, and I thought, because I did a little bit of I did a 6K beer run last summer where you run 6K and then when you're done, you basically drink unlimited beer. And they have all these breweries. I'm doing it again this summer because it was actually a blast. But I really enjoyed the challenge of the race. You know, even when I went to go do that 6 kilometer race before we were about to go guzzle beer, I took it very seriously. Like I was like, I'm going to run as fast as I can. And, you know, and I was like, after I finished that 6K race, I was like, what about 10K? What if I did a 10K race? Is there something I can do there? I'm like, you know, and then the winter time came and I just forgot about running and I went into a little bit of a bulk to build some more muscle. And I never really ran for like 3 months straight. But as February hit, I was like, I want to be more serious with my running and maybe I'll do a 10K run. And it was just maybe, it was a thought. But I was like, I already know I can do 10K. I've done many 10Ks on my own. I need an actual challenge. You know, I need something that's going to push me to something I've never done, right? Like if I did a 10K race, yeah, it would be definitely a challenge to like place high on the list of people who are actually racing and get a good time, of course. But I needed something I've never done. And I said, maybe I'll do the half. The problem with that was it wasn't actually a goal. It was just an idea for a goal. And I remember thinking this in my head, like, all right, and I've done this many times. I know I'm saying this right now, but a few months comes along and no running has been done, or at least consistent running. And all that's going to happen is I'm going to have these excuses in my head, right? So it wasn't actually a goal. It was just an idea for a goal. As I was walking tonight, I thought a goal really isn't a goal until you have made it an actual thing. You've done actions that support the goal already. You've made at least some plans towards that goal, you know, and you've taken some steps that are going to point you towards that goal. That's when you've actually set a real goal, when it's actually become a thing within your life and not just a thought, not just something that you said that you'd like to do. It's only a goal if you're actually doing things to get yourself closer, no matter how big those steps are, right? So I knew in my head at the time that it didn't still feel serious. And in that moment, I remember I wasn't doing much. I just went to my computer. I typed in New Brunswick marathons because I'm out of the loop. I picked the one that I thought I had enough time for, and I instantly registered it. Like in that moment, like all within the same day, I was like, I want to run this summer and I want to be serious with it. I really enjoyed it. It made me feel great. And then that day I was thinking, well, it's not really like a goal. Like, am I really going to do that? Am I really going to run? And then by the end of the day, I was like, you know what? If I don't register today, I'm probably going to forget about this thought tomorrow. And it might pop up again next week. And I'll say the exact same thing again. What's going to happen is I'll forget about it. I'll think about it again next week. And I'll say the same thing. I'll go, yeah, I gotta register for that. I gotta register for that. And I'll just forget. Right. And then before you know it, there's no time left to train and the marathon's already gone by. Right. So I registered instantly in that moment. It was now, in that moment after I had registered and paid, it was a real thing, right? It was a real actual thing. So now that I had invested into it and I made it a thing, this now required me to take action. This required me to make a plan. And before I registered, nothing was set in stone. Nothing yet required a plan. But now, because it's set in stone and I put money into it and I actually put my name into it, I had to make a plan. So it either became a thing, and like I said earlier, or else, it becomes a thing or it becomes an excuse. So make plans or make excuses. The moral is of this whole spiel, take the jump before you're ready. If you actually want the goals you thought of, if you actually want those to happen, you have to start before you even have done anything. You have to put a little something into it that requires you to now take action. Put some money into it. You've invested time into it. You've sacrificed things for it already. Now you got to take the next step, or else that first step you've already taken goes to waste, right? The more you invest, the more accountability you have to continue on, and the more of a real goal it actually is. So it needs to become an actual thing, a thing that you take pride in, a thing that gets you excited, a thing that you can't help but talk about to your friends. The amount of times that I brought up the marathon, the half marathon to my friends, and the training and the type of runs that I had to do each week, I was so excited about it. I brought it up so many times, and I could tell by the look on their faces they did not care. But you know what? I didn't even care that they didn't care. I needed someone to tell. And who else am I going to tell? Because if my friends don't care, strangers definitely don't care. But yeah, it's got to be a thing that you share to others to also inspire them to take action. So the fact that this became a thing, I shared most of my journey with you guys, at least a lot of the little details about my training. I wanted to ultimately inspire you guys to also not just run and not just lift weights, or even nothing to do with fitness. You've got to go all in, right? Because your goals are nothing until you actually make it a thing. Start before you're ready. And if I have to leave you with anything today, the original thought is whatever your goals are right now, whatever it is that you'd like to see happen in 2024, you've got to make it a real thing. You've got to do something that makes your goals real. Because if you don't, they're not actually goals. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very, very much for following me on this journey. And I will see you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Peace. Stay blessed. And make it a thing. Make your goals a thing.